The capewrathtrail is a 230-mile hike through the Scottish Highlands. It's known as the UK's toughest long-distance trail. Join me on this adventure as I attempt to traverse this wild landscape and brave extreme conditions. The journey passes through some of the most scenic views Scotland has to offer. The hike begins in Fort William. The route will pass through remote areas like the rough bounds of Knoydart and the Fisher Field, known as Scotland's last true wilderness. You will hike through peaceful glens and pass by bonny lochs. The trail promises some of the hardest terrain to navigate. It's here that you will be tested and find out what you're capable of. It can be harsh and unforgiving. There's a part of you will never want to leave. The route then finishes at the Capewrath Lighthouse, situated on the far northwest coast. It's a trail that few hikers manage to complete. It's seen as the ultimate challenge and draws hikers from across the world. Good morning, folks, and here we are on day one of the capewrathtrail, and also stage one as well. So I've just left the ferry at Shenavall. Just a little bit of info for you. I'm going to put the timings down for you as they currently stand in the description section. And as for the cost for the ferry, it's £2, either paid by cash, and you can also pay by card. Now, when you're in Fort William, there are two piers for ferries, so just make sure that you get the right one, and it is labelled for you. I had to stop filming there for a few minutes. I was going past the house and the dogs were somewhat barking. So what we're doing, obviously we're heading southbound at the moment towards Inverskadal Bay before we pick up Connor Glen. Now, I've chosen this route opposed to doing the Great Glen Way, which is an alternative route that you can take, as it's meant to be far more scenic and possibly more challenging, I would think, as well. So today, to get down to Inverskadal Bay, unfortunately it is going to be quite a bit of road walking, but it is a good road. You're following obviously Loch Linnhe, which is a sea loch, probably for about 7 miles I gauge. But it's a good track, or a good road I should say, nice and smooth underfoot. One of the reasons today for travelling, I'm not intending on doing too many miles, maybe about 16 miles or something today, just because I'm walking on the road. I don't want to put too much wear and tear on my feet right at the beginning of a trail, which I think sometimes is what can happen to people if they try and do it by the stage guidelines, which are laid out for you to try and do. I think it's maybe like 22-mile day to get to Glenfinnan, and I think for me that's just a little bit too much. I like to ease into a trail on my first day. Anyway, so just talking about Loch Linnhe, jumping back to that. Now obviously it's the sea loch. The loch itself used to be vital for trade to the fort at Fort William, and later when the canal opened up along the Great Glen Way, it was important for goods travelling up from Fort William, coming in from obviously the Irish Sea, heading up to Inverness. So I just thought I'd add that little bit of trivia in there for you. Anyway, we'll make a headway, and unless there's something of note along this road section, we'll catch up nearer Inverskadal Bay. So we just arrived at Inverskadal Bay. It's taken maybe a couple of hours just to come down the road. It's just going on about 1 o'clock. And immediately to my right hand side you'll see a tree. We're just going to go over there in a second. But just ahead you'll see the path diverting to your right hand side. And that's the path we're going to be taking to go up Connor Glen. If you go any further and you come across that bridge that's just ahead of us, you've went too far. So let's have a wee look at this tree here. It's quite a a notable section of the trail where people actually put their own little stones down. See if I get. There used to actually be a lot more of them, so I don't know whether people have been taken away or taken them as mementos, who knows. I do actually have my own one, which I'm going to place there in just a second. So here it is. Not all who wander are lost. There's a bit of a Lord of the Rings quote, but I think it's quite appropriate for this trail, and hopefully I will not get lost while on it. So I'm going to put it there, make my offering to the pebble gods, and hopefully it keeps me safe. So I've just come past the junction with the tree of the small stones, and immediately to your left hand side as you head up the path, you'll see this nice area here that you can get pitched up. Ideal for those who are perhaps setting off later on in the day. So as we came into Inverskadal Bay, not only is it very picturesque in itself, one of the things I noticed straight away is as you came out of the section of walking through the forest, coming along that road section, the air was just so crisp and fresh, and it was like quite invigorating, helped wake me up. But now I would say we're on to what I would class as the start of the capewrathtrail. You actually start feeling that you're in the wilderness now. The glen itself, from the initial take, looking at it, it's beautiful, absolutely stunning. Lots of red deer about, plenty of wildlife, and more importantly, I'm not even seeing a soul about other than a few estate workers. So I thought I'd better talk a little bit about the trail itself and perhaps the format that we'll take. Now, as for time period for actually doing the trail, obviously that will be very dependent upon the weather. I have planned to try and do it in, I think about 17 days, obviously allowing for extra time if required. Now, as for each day that I'm out hiking, the plan is towards the end I'm going to put a 3D fly through of the route that I've walked that day, and I'll also go through the map and possibly go through some of the sections of the trail guide if I feel it's required. One of the advantages of the capewrathtrail, there are so many variants that you can take. So I just walked past the wire bridge, which was one of these iconic focal points on this trail. The ground around it is actually quite good for pitching a tent. At the moment, obviously, over the last few days, there's been a lot of heavy rain, and the water is obviously, or the rivers, I say, are in spate. But on the higher ground sections near that wire bridge, yeah, certainly good ground. So we're going to make our way on to one of the estate bothies along here, which is another area that you can get pitched up. As the days go ahead, any of the places where I'm going to get pitched, or bothies that I use, I'll put down grid locations to where they are, make it a little bit easier for you planning your own trips. And same for places like campsites, hostels, other places I might use. I'll leave you contact details in the description sections of the videos. Because the whole idea of doing these videos not only is to get out here and obviously experience the beauty of the outdoors, but it's to try and give people a little bit of a hand when they come to planning their own trails. So I've just arrived at Kearvaig bothy. They seem to be doing a lot of renovation work on it at the moment. So there's a lot of waste debris around here. You can see that people have obviously had campfires on the go. I mean, the only area which is really good for pitching is probably immediately to my left here at the end of the cottage, and it's not very large, enough for a one-person tent probably. So I'll be looking for something further along the trail myself, but for many people this will be the place that they will get themselves pitched for the first night. So when you come to the end of the estate track, you'll come across some wooden sort of boards, and then you're going to see this very large prominent stone, and immediately to the left hand side you'll see this grassy area here. Now unfortunately it is very saturated with water at the moment, but it's very easy to get access down to the river, and it's a high enough level that it shouldn't flood. And if I pan back around, you'll see the single track which will lead us up the hill tomorrow. So what I'll do, I'll get myself sorted out and we'll go and do a little bit of map time. So that's us coming towards the end of our first day in the capewrathtrail. I'm currently towards the end of Connor Glen, getting ready to make our ascent into Glenfinnan tomorrow. In my nice warm clothes. It has been I'd probably say quite a taxing day, not so much because of the trail itself, but it's been quite a lot of heavy showers on, so that's made it a little bit more challenging for filming. Anyway, so we'll move on to having a wee look at some of the resource guides that I've been using, and we'll look at the map as well. So the first thing we're going to look at is the guidebook, Cicerone guidebook. Now the trail itself is being created by Ian Harper. Now this has all of the resources you really need to plan the trail, i.e. accommodation, the route itself and alternative routes. As for the maps, they're broke down into two sections. You've got one for the south side for the first part of the trail, and the next map will come into the north section. Good morning folks, we're now going on to day 2 and we're heading towards Glenfinnan. Now this will probably take us around about the 3-hour mark. It's about, I think it's about 6 miles to get into Glenfinnan, and we're going on to a reasonably decent single track for a larger part of the trail. Now last night, yeah again it chucked down with rain, but this morning The sun seems to be up, bit of a nice fresh breeze, so we'll just see how the day turns out. So we're looking back at the Conor Glen, and we'll be parting ways as we head into Glenfinnan. The path coming up, you know, it's actually quite gentle, quite deceiving if you look at the path from a far way back, but certainly still boggy in sections, and I expect that to be the same on the way down. So if we look down, we're getting our first views of Glenfinnan, and you can just see the mist horizon. Hopefully when we get a bit further down we'll probably get some nice pictures of that. So the track actually coming down, I say it's been a lot better than the track coming up, at least at this point anyway. I fully expected to be having to have my waterproofs on for a good part of the day, and that's how I've dressed myself. But I'm coming to the conclusion the skies are starting to clear, and I think as soon as I get down into Glenfinnan I'll be having a change of wardrobe. It's never nice walking in the waterproofs. So one thing to keep in mind, for a lot of people who do the trail, they actually want to see what they class as the steam train which is associated with the Harry Potter movies, going over the Glenfinnan viaduct. Just be aware of what time that train actually runs, and most importantly if the train is actually running at all. So the last time I checked it was about 10:30. It's meant to go across the viaduct. When I get down to the visitor centre I'll try and confirm that, because times can change. So we just left the single track. Now we're on this sort of estates track heading into Glenfinnan, so we'll be able to make some good time now. It was probably took me 2 hours, just bang on the 2 hours I think, to get them off that single track. And like other people have said, yeah, it was very boggy, very slippery underfoot, especially with all the water that's lying coming down the path. So yeah, quite technical. I had to really take my time and watch myself. And so it's a sight for sore eyes seeing this track that I'm currently on. But we'll make our way down into Glenfinnan, and obviously there's a few things there I want to show you. So I finally reached the bridge. Exceptionally boggy coming down this small section of trail to get to it. Now this bridge had been out of disrepair for some time, and it finally looks like they've managed to get it completed. So we'll head across and we'll next catch up when we're in Glenfinnan. So not long after you've come across the bridge, you'll be walking into Glenfinnan, and just before you get to the visitor centre you'll actually see you come to a T-junction with an arrow sign pointing you towards the monument. If you take that path, you'll come towards a loch, and on a day like this, it's absolutely splendid viewing. So I thought I'd take about a half-hour break here, recuperate after this morning's travels, and I couldn't ask for a better place to sit down. I went into the visitor centre, picked myself up a coffee. People say it's a bit pricey. To me, I live in Edinburgh, so it's kind of like standard price that I would expect to pay. There is another shop a little bit further along the trail which does hot food, so I might actually check that out as we go along. And I also want to talk a little bit about the monument behind me as well. But I'm taking the opportunity while the sun's out to try and dry some of my kit before I head off. The monument behind me is here to commemorate the 1745 Jacobite uprising. It's here that Bonnie Prince Charlie arrived, leaving Lochs, and here he expected to be met by basically this army to support his this rebellion of his. And it didn't work out according to plan. There was no large army here. There was maybe only a dozen or so men, and he had a few troops with him, some French regulars. So this did not get off to a great start for him. But fortunately, he was quite a charismatic character, and he managed to obviously ignite the clans. The monument itself doesn't just commemorate his landing, it's all who actually fought on that particular war. And unfortunately, as we well know, that the rebellion did not succeed. I've not long left Glenfinnan. I spent actually more time there than I actually expected. I was there for about just over an hour. As I said, it gave me an opportunity to dry my clothes out a wee bit. Things to keep in mind, it is a tourist hotspot. I mean, this is during the week and it's still busy. Now, as you leave the visitor centre, just at the other end of the car park, there is another food stall. I put down the menu and some of the prices there as it is at this time. I was expecting to see more traditional Scottish fare like hot rolls or anything really other than what they've got up. As you come on, just before you get to the viaduct, you'll see there's actually a path that leads you off to the left. So you want to get a good view of the viaduct, you can do. Now the steam train today was not running. That's not a surprise to me. It's an old piece of machinery, it doesn't always run like clockwork. So if your expectation is to come here and see the train, you need to manage that expectation. Anyway, we're going to move along to Corryholly Bothy, sorry. It's a nice bothy, but like many along this trail, they can be quite busy. Now, distance-wise, the plan is to head towards a cool bothy. That's even a bit further. We'll see how we get on. So, distance-wise, probably about between the 11 and 12 mile mark. So we've still got quite a lot to do, and a lot of the track today for this section, once we get off the main state road, isn't going to be a good path. And if it's anything like this morning with it being boggy underfoot, my expectations is this will take me a lot longer than route planned time anyway. So we'll move along, we'll catch up again at the bothy. So as we left Glenfinnan Viaduct, not long before you get to Corryholly Bothy, you'll see there's a lot of areas where you can get your tent pitched up. And immediately to my right hand side, you can see you've got another grand area there. So we'll carry on, have a wee look inside the bothy and take an opportunity to have a wee break. So as you can see, it's not a very large bothy, but this is one of the ones that does actually have charging points. So I've just reached the Beelach, and that was a hard slog coming up. There was another party behind me. I thought they were going to overtake me quite early on. Suddenly the lack of sleep I had last night and the heat, oh, it's taken it out of me. So I'm going to push on. Now we're going on to a section where there isn't much in the way of path. The other group, they've just moved past me now. They've walked this area before. So I'll give an eye on where they go. They might pick up a bit of path from me. But in the meantime, we'll start heading down the hill. So we're finally on a flatter section as we come down from the Beelach. Other than being tired, this is quite enjoyable. Definitely the path is boggy at parts, but it is actually a path, which is actually better than what I was expecting. Now that might be towards the lower end when you have to kind of make your own way, but as long as you plot your course correctly according to the map, you shouldn't do too badly. Now I'm quite fortunate also, there's another group in front of me who've done this trail before, so even if I was going slightly wrong, I'd probably be able to correct myself. Anyway, we'll move on, and I think we've got a small stream crossing at some point. So at some point we need to cross this river, and you can see it's in spate. You can clearly see from the other side it's far too steep, and it looks like the path heads just across. But I'm going to put the camera away and just make our way across it. So yeah, again we've got to crisscross over the river. I think I'll try a little bit further up. So we're now going on to day 3, and things did not go according to plan. I came across that second ford and I found this sort of a really nice pitch site, and I decided I'd actually use it. I was too tired, and sometimes you just got to listen to your body. I mean, my ideal location was to get to a cool bothy, and I think that was just pushing it a little bit too far. At the moment, as you can see, I'm inundated with midges. Oh man, I've got smidge on and all the rest. Doesn't seem to be making a difference. The wee beasties that they are. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to obviously make my way down to a cool bothy this morning, with a plan to obviously head off towards Surley's bothy. So I'm going to get this pitch site tidied up, and I'm going to get on the track as soon as possible, and we'll catch up once I'm away for these angry little flies. Anyway, oh man, terrible. So I reckon that should be our last stream crossing before we get to the bridge. So we just come to the bridge that we'll be crossing. It's recently been repaired since the last time I've seen it in videos, but there is an alternative route to go circle around the forest along the river. I believe it's Pean. No one seems to take this route at all. It might be quite boggy, which wouldn't surprise me. So I'm going to keep to the more traditional route. and head up into the forest. So there's a bit of a steep upward climb to get onto the forest track. So it's good to finally get on this forest track. It's nice and shaded and cool. Yeah, this morning there is a bit of an ATV path to follow, but to be honest, it is actually flooded at most parts, so you're looking at paths to try and go around it. Very challenging coming down from that Beelach. First part's not so bad, but yeah, the heavy rainfall we've had recently has made it treacherous in parts. You just really need to be mindful where you're putting your feet. I slid on a few occasions. I mean, it wasn't graceful hiking down there, more like skiing at times. I noticed that there was a party of 6 guys in front of me, and they had exactly the same problem as I did. I did see another hiker pitched up not long before he got to the bridge. I reckon it's the guy who set off about the same time as me. Each day he's been probably about a mile ahead of me, and he's always had the same idea. It was, as I said, extremely tiring, but now I should be able to make up some pace on this track, and we'll meet up again nearer a cool bothy. So we've just left the forest, and if you go downhill you'll actually see there's a muddy path that takes you down to a cool bothy. And there are some areas to get your tent pitched there. I'm not going to go down. I'm already running behind schedule by at least a couple hours. I will post some pictures of the bothy so you can see what it looks like inside. But in the meantime, we're going to be heading down the track, and I need to resupply my water. Now, heading towards Surley's bothy, you know, we're about, I think it's 7 miles, so between like 3 to 4 hours to get there. So I need to really make some tracks. I'll catch up further along the trail. So I opted to come through the forest trail. A lot of people are put off it. They say it's really boggy. I would say it's no more boggy than any other section that I've been through, and at least there's actually a trail to follow. Very steep, especially on the latter sections. Plus point is it does give us quite a bit of elevation, so hopefully we'll now be going on to a more level track as we meet up with the other path. Despite being quite overcast, it is actually very warm. Fortunately now we're on this pretty good single track, and hopefully this will take us all the way to lochs, where we'll next catch up. So we just reached lochs, and even in this sort of a beautiful secluded area, there's quite a lot of backpackers out here. But the views are absolutely fantastic. I did promise myself I would have a decent break when I got here. At the moment I'm one with the bog. I don't think there's one part of me that's not covered in mud. Anyway, I'll make our way down to Surley's bothy, and hopefully you'll pick up a better track. Let's have a wee look into Sully's Bothy. As you can see, it's quite a busy one. It's with a saddened heart that I'm leaving Sully's Bothy. Everything is telling me to stop. I'll give you an idea of how hard that section was from a Crow Bothy to here. Just because it's so wet underfoot and boggy. There was about actually 3 to 4 groups. We were actually sort of up about the same time, and they're all just starting to arrive about now. So according to trail guide and the map I've plotted out, it said between 3 to 4 hours. It's just going on 4 o'clock, so that is 7 hours to get here. So it just shows you how much the capewrathtrail can throw a spanner in the best laid plans. Now, I am very mindful now of how hard the terrain is, and I'm going to have to replan my routes accordingly. So I'm going to try and make my way across Loch Nevis Bay. I'm currently on the hill path which leads on just past the Bothy. Now the tide's in, so we can't go around the beach. So I want to get across the bay, which is one of the bits I'm concerned about. I'm trying to do a few miles, because I'm ideally wanting to tomorrow get to Kinlochon, and that is seeming very doubtful now. Anyway, we'll move on. We're just going to have to take the trail as it comes. So the mud flaps are not as bad as you see, at least at this point. We're making towards the bridge in the far distance, so that should be a navigation point. So as you come off the hill, you will see a path directly in front of you. So that's the one I would take. That's the one that shows up on the route planner. You'll only need to cross a small inlet river. You might have to go a little bit further inland to get across it, as I had to do. I've now picked up this this path, which is not on the trail planner. And it seems to be heading directly towards the bridge. So I'm just going to see how far I can go on it. I'm going to take hopefully the quickest route there. We'll pick up in a bit. So my shortcut didn't work out, so I had to go back to following the GPX file, and I picked up this ATV path which you've recently seen, and that takes you up to the river, and from there you just need to keep to the right hand side of the river and you'll see this single track path, and this just follows the river all the way along, apparently up to where the bridge is. So just keep that in mind and you shouldn't go too far astray. Well, morning folks. We're going on to day 4. So picking up from yesterday, obviously I came across the estuary across the bridge. And then not long after that, I decided to call it a day. Just past a small stream going along the track, that's where I got pitched up. And last night, it absolutely chucked down all night. It didn't let up at all. Even some water got into my tent. I don't know how, but it did. So yeah, off to a very wet start. Now today, I've totally had to change my outlook at looking at some of the planning guides for this. And so today it should be going to Barrisdale. It says about 5 hours. And if it's anything like it was yesterday, I have no expectation of doing that in 5 hours. Not with how wet it is. So that is going to be my goal for the day. I think I'm just going to have to accept the fact it is getting to Kinlochcoln today is just completely unrealistic of these weather conditions. And we're just going to have to move forward from that and make some alterations. So I'm going to try and find somewhere along this river if I can and just get a bit of a wash and wake up, and we'll catch up a little bit further along the trail. So this is the first river crossing of the day, and you can see it's absolutely in spate. I'm going to try and go a little bit further down and trying to do my best to get across. It is, there's more stones further up, but I would have to be bashing through the bracken to get to it. So I just took a good 10-minute break there. There was an opportunity just to do a bit of self-reflecting. Now, I've done quite a lot of walking in the Highlands and certainly quite a few long distance trails. And you know what? I don't think it prepared me for this. This is a lot harder than I expected it to be. And as much as you're battling the elements when doing this trail, you're also fighting this internal battle within yourself. It's so easy because it's so hard underfoot and it's so tiring. You just want to take that backpack off and just have a break. But if you keep on doing that, you're not going to get anywhere. Yesterday, I was quite fortunate because I met a great bunch of lads on the trail, and they had going about the same pace that I would go, and that really did spur me on. Now today, they're going in different directions, as are most other people that I met yesterday. So today it's all on me, and it's funny, you come out here, you look for the solitude, and then finally when you're away from everyone, the reality kicks in. You're out here by yourself and it's all on you. So we're going to keep going, get through this bog first and see where it takes us. So you can see I'm on this high plateau at the moment. Now the trail path actually takes you right down by that ravine, which at the moment the river is far too high for you to even go down the lower path. So you really need to try and find this upper path. It'll make things a lot easier on you. Me and a couple of German lads unfortunately did find it. It will eventually go back down again. So we're at the location, which is often associated with the Lord of the Rings movies. Where I'm currently at is actually a good pitch site, even though the ground is pretty waterlogged, which seems to be the theme of this journey so far. Speaking to the German lads, they weren't aware of the upper path, and they followed me up onto it, and they're quite grateful. They've actually done the capewrath before, and they have never seen the weather conditions like this. So yeah, just one of them things, you just have to persevere and move on with it. Anyway, I'm going to have a wee break here, and then we'll tackle the rest of the day. I think we're about the halfway stage at the moment. So you see with the waterfall coming down, that should be your way marker for heading up the hill. And you can see the two hikers at the moment trying to make their best along there. I'll be joining them shortly. I don't think there's any obvious path. I won't know until I get further up it. So I just reached the Belac, and that was one hard climb coming up there. I was speaking to a nice lad, Harry, and yeah, we were both struggling coming up. I'm not going to lie, I took about half a dozen breaks coming up that hill. It is steep, and it's certainly at points that you're like grade 1 to sometimes even grade 2 climbing. Very wet underfoot, yet again, slidey rocks. You're having to watch what you're doing. But now we're finally on the descent. Oh my god, I'm so happy about that. Anyway, let's all carry on a little bit further, and we'll head towards Barrisdale. So I've just arrived at the bothy. It's £5 to stay the night, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. Met a good lad, Harry, along the trail. He's going to be doing the same. So let's have a wee look around, and then I'm going to have to find this office to go and pay. So this is bothy, does have working electricity. It has charging points. Plenty of leftover things from other people who've travelled through. We're running water, imagine that's drinking water. So this is the first room. Looks like someone's in this one. A toilet, which is unusual. And this is where I'm staying in, and this is Harry. Right.